in at the podium with my notes, but now my notes are going to be really obvious. So I'm sorry, I have notes. I'm moderating like 6 panels today. There's a lot of information. So if you see any notes, forgive me. How close are we to ready with Billy? I know he's back there. Is Billy ready? Anybody? Can I get like a head shake, something?
All you gotta do is
nothing?
Say it, man, I'll walk out.
You hear me, right? All right, you tell me when he's here. I'm Jesse Blaze Snider. I write comic books. I'm a musician. I have an organization called I Don't Know Bleep About Comics, which is designed to help people who have lots of questions about the medium get into reading comics, because it is the single greatest form of entertainment on the planet. It's just the truth. Because with comic books, there's no budget, which means you can do anything that you can think of. And I don't know about you, but when I'm reading stories and being entertained, I want stuff that I've never seen ever, you know? Great sci-fi and fantasy and cool stuff like that. Comic books is where it's at. You will get the most of that. And there is a comic book for everybody.
Hi, can I talk to people?
If you want to find out more, I'm doing a panel, IDKS About Comics, tomorrow. I think it's at 4 in this same room. So come on back, and if you have any questions, there's no stupid question. You know, I'm not comic book guy, and I'm not going to have a bunch of comic book guys on stage with me. It'll be me and a bunch of friends who love comic books talking about how great comics are. Hey, we're here, everybody. The new Mel Blanc. Come on, Billy.
How you doing? What's going on?
Good. I feel so far away if I sit here.
I like it better that way.
I'm just gonna sit over here.
All right.
How you doing?
Good. You know any dirty jokes?
Quite a few, but I think we have children here.
That's okay. I'm not going to go there. How's everybody doing?
They're excited to see you.
I love it that this is informal like this.
Yeah, with the couch. Isn't it nice?
Yeah, I mean, I'd sit on the corner of the stage. You know, I'm not an elitist.
Yeah. High five. High five for that.
Yes, sir.
Did you hear how I announced you? I said the new Mel Blanc.
Really?
And I saw somebody had that in a quote. I was reading something, and I saw the new Mel Blanc, and I said, he really is the new Mel Blanc.
Well, I just, you know, I always wanted to be like the best Billy West that I could be. It's very hard. I tried. I was hired in Space Jam as Bugs Bunny.
Yeah, I was just watching it with my kids the other day.
Were you?
Yeah, and I was like, I didn't know that was him.
Yeah, and I got to work with Michael Jordan, Doc. The closest thing to a religious figure that we have.
Thank you.
But wait, but not just Bugs and Elmer. Woody Woodpecker. You were doing Shaggy for a minute, a really good Shaggy.
Yeah?
You know? Oh yeah. I mean, you know, let alone all the stuff that you're like mostly known for. The things that you've originated and created are the greatest ones. But the fact that you've been able to go like, you know, pitch hit, you know, all of these great voices, it's just insane. Do you find yourself like, I'm doing the voice of Bugs Bunny?
Yeah, I said that, and I was like shaking in my boots because that's a really tough job to fill, you know. And Mel Blanc was not just a collection of goofy, witty little voices. He was a hell of an actor.
Oh, yeah.
He acted on every single one of those characters like it wasn't the same human being.
Yeah.
And
his timing is just insane.
Well, yeah, I mean, he was a great actor, but he, to replicate those voices, I mean, there's been like 5 of us over the years that were hired to do stuff. But all the best work, in my opinion, was done before we were born, you know? I mean, then what ruined it is they started becoming friends. You know, they used to hate each other.
That's what happened with the Muppet Show. Now
Yeah.
Miss Piggy, nobody can say she's fat. She's a pig. That's the idea. You know, like
Well,
don't forget what the joke was originally.
You wouldn't say that if you were a pig.
Well, but that's the idea. You know, like that's wonderful. The more friendly, the less conflict exists.
That's my Snooki impression, too. I went truffle hunting in the south of France with Snooki. Where is it, girl?
You know what? Don't tell Snooki how, like, you know, expensive the truffles are, because she'll be like, that's a good idea. I can make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Do it.
She'd look at me and go, what are you, asshole?
So I knew of you as Stimpy, But I didn't know that you did Ren for like 3 seasons too.
Well, yeah, I originally auditioned for both of them, and we went over to Nickelodeon, me and John Cristofalusi, and he was going to go meet with the women at Nick. This is 1990 or something, and I taped both voices in a closet reading a script like this. We didn't have a studio. So he got it, he went into the meeting, and he came out and he said, "Congratulations, what you just did sold the show." So, oh, great, you know. And then that's the last I heard of that. I was doing Stimpy, but he wanted to do Ren. And, you know, tell you the truth, I didn't give a fat frog's ass who did what. You know, I just wanted to work. That's all. I never lobbied for that job and every other thing I was accused for. You know, and I did it for 3 seasons, both of them. But it was like, you know, Stimpy, the drawings, is like, I didn't even know what they were when I first saw them. I said, what are they, microbes? What are they supposed to be? Are they germs? You know, and then I realized the more I looked at it, it's this big brain-dead cat and this quintessential jerk, a combined mixture of jerks to make up Ren. And Stimpy was like, you know, he was very childlike. So originally, my heroes when I was a kid, before I went to school every morning, they used to show the Three Stooges at 7:30 a.m.
Oh, you used to do, when you did one of the Stooges on the Stern Show.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You used to do that.
Yeah, well, everybody could do all
Stern fans.
everybody could do the Stooges, you know, and everybody knew what Moe was all about and Curly, but nobody gave a damn about Larry. And I thought he was the greatest because the little that he would say used to disassemble me, like, you know, molecularly. Because it was so beautifully nothing. It was sublime. You know, it's like, be careful, Mo. You know,
Hey, Mo, there's too much tinsel in the tree.
I like that he was always concerned.
Well, he was always
you know,
concerned.
You
like,
knew they were going to get hurt somehow, and he was always like, I don't know. You know?
well, he would always caution. You know, he'd come in and go,
Hey, Mo, you took my money, didn't you?
yeah.
Then it's Shemp. He's come back to haunt us.
I always imagined that he had previously been like, you know, an artisan. You know, he was like a college professor, and then he hooked up with these two guys, started getting hit in the head. And
Well, he was in vaudeville. Now, people that don't know what vaudeville is, it was on before there was television. There were live stage shows, and then there were movies, of course, always. But people would go and watch 6 acts in the middle of the day or just before dinner time, and you'd either comedy teams. Larry was a violin player, and he used to accompany these sisters called the Haney sisters. You know, don't ask me how I know all this, like, periphery. But for some reason, that's all
you're amongst a group of people who know an awful lot of periphery.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's good. Thank you for... I'm glad to be in your presence.
We appreciate periphery.
But that just intrigued me, you know? And so for Stimpy, I had an idea, and John Kay said, you know that Larry Fine voice you were doing? I said, yeah. He said, why don't you try that? And I realized that you couldn't have a happy, like a brain-dead, childlike character sound like a depressed old Jewish guy. So you had to amp him up, and he had to adhere to the parameters of a cartoon universe. And so he was like, you know,
Will you button me, Ren?
you know, same kind of voice, but only way up.
Yeah.
And
Hey, Ren! I picked a magic nose goblin.
will you put that back where it came from, you fool? I shall kill you.
Well,
Thank you. Thank you.
Joy!
I have the Ren and Stimpy soundtrack still at home with Don't Whiz on the Electric Fence, The Ballad of the Kilted Yaxman, and Happy, Happy, Joy, Joy, which my wife cannot stand, but I put it on. She does not like those songs, but I'm like, come on, they're hysterical.
What did that CD come out like 20 years ago or something?
Tree reeks of trees. I love
Well,
that.
that's
I
the-
hear that. I sing that to myself.
That
all
was
the time.
sung by the Los Angeles Gay Men's Chorus.
Really?
The Kilted Yaxman theme. They went out and got the Our Country. Oh, it was beautiful.
And they smell like rotting beef carcasses. All right. So, you know, it's really funny because, you know, you do so many voices on Futurama. And, you know, and I heard tell, it's like,
Thank you.
Billy's always having conversations with himself,
Oh, yeah.
you know? Professor, I can't swallow this. Good news. It's a suppository.
Yeah, yeah.
my favorite Billy West line of all the seasons of Futurama.
Well,
good news.
you know, I was auditioning for them, and other people were doing Fry and Leela, and then they didn't settle on those people, and they grabbed Katie Seagal because she was a member of like the Fox stable because of Married with Children and all that stuff.
She's great. I really
She's wonderful. I'll tell you way more about her in a minute, but oh, I wanted to marry her one time. I just looked at her and I said, Katie, you've never not been a star. You know, I was just like...
So Futurama came true.
It did. It did. The finale.
Unrequited love.
But
You're not a biker. That's the problem.
No, I auditioned for everything else except like Fry. I auditioned for Bender, and I played him like a construction worker, you know, and it didn't fly. And John DiMaggio had the perfect take on it. He was like a punch-drunk fighter, you know, like who took too many hits to the head, and it's like, you know, I want to say the champ. You are the champ. Ah! Perfect take. And then I auditioned for Zoidberg and the Professor, and the Professor was just a collection of doddering old wizards and mad scientists.
Dude, the Professor's my favorite character on the show.
Yeah, and he's 147 years old, so I'd be like this when I would talk, and they said, ain't that cheating? And I said, nobody cares what you do with your hands in a dark booth.
They called it cheating?
Well, no, they say, you're just a voice guy. You shouldn't be like... I said, please, will you just...
I'm Billy West, the new Mel Blanc, goddammit.
Really, just please be gone. But this character was like, you know, the 147-year-old great-great-great-great-grand... What? Yeah, he was, thank you. He was so old. He was so old that, you know, I looked at the character, and I get a lot of impressions just from looking at it, and I said, he must fart dust. And then I looked at his skin and him, and he looked like airplane food. You know, like a piece of diseased chicken with skin wrapped around it, you know. And, you know, and then he would just, like, have these beautiful things to say, like, good news, everyone. Bad news. And then he had memes, tons of memes. And I always, you know, there was always memes, except they didn't call them memes. They were just things that got stuck in your head. And now all of a sudden everything has a new magic word. But,
what about Zapp Brannigan?
Well, wait, I'll
tell me
that.
something. If you've got more, give it to me.
Yeah, the Professor, his memes were just really cool because he would act so silly and weird, and he didn't care what happens to everybody. And then the next minute he's like, I don't want to live on this planet anymore. And Zoidberg...
That's so cool.
Zoidberg...
That's him.
He was a combination. I hate to harken back to vaudeville again, but now that we know what it is, there were two performers. There was one guy in old vaudeville, his name was George Jessel, and he was like a toastmaster, you know? And he was a wisecracker, but he had this marble mouth, like this, you know, hello, Mama, it's your son, George. From the money each week? You know, it's an old Yiddish joke. He's calling his mom. She's like, hello? All right, well, that's why it was vaudeville. And everybody ate good, you know, because people would throw tomatoes at people like me. But he had that beautiful thing, and he'd be like, you know the definition of a smart ass? A fella that can sit in an ice cream cone and tell you what flavor it is. And then there was this actor from Yiddish theater named Lou Jacoby. And I don't know if you remember the first Arthur movie.
Oh, yeah.
Well, when this guy
I thought I was doing good. A hooker.
So, yeah, and this guy comes over to him and he goes, what's it like to have all that money? And I just went crazy. I was like, ah! So I took the two of them and stuck them together, and it would become like, you know, young lady, bring me a sandwich from the dumpster.
I'm so glad you were my first panel.
I'm scuttling.
So when I was, researching and just, because I like to get as much information as I can, you toured playing guitar with Roy Orbison, Pretty Woman for everybody, and Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys?
Yes. Well, I was a musician before I did anything. I wanted to be
Soloing.
Well, I wanted to be the best guitar player in the world, and I used to play dances and stuff, and I had all these bands and everything. And it was nothing but fun. That was my passion. I loved singing and just, screwing around. But if you broke a string on stage or your amplifier blew up, there were no roadies scrambling around to help you and give you another guitar. There was nothing. The show just came to an abrupt halt. And people would be looking at me like I was a fried egg, like, what are you going to do now? And so I started launching off into these whacked out voices and characters and everything, and they were like, they liked it better than the music, I think. And it was like I always knew that would just stop people dead. For what reason, I wasn't sure, but I said, whenever I get in trouble, this is where I can go. And I used to do Tom Jones impressions on
That was what I was
stage.
going to ask. Did you do impressions of singers? 'Cause
Yes,
I'm sure
Elvis.
you could nail some stuff.
Elvis and Roy Orbison. I spent so much time trying to, I knew every catalog, Beach Boys, Beatles, Roy Orbison, all these guys were my heroes. And my band got to play with a bunch of old-time, real famous guys like Roy Orbison. I played with Chuck Berry once. Not in this band, but opening up for these guys. But I did play with Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys. He was my hero. He was one of my idols.
It's amazing.
And next thing you know, I'm doing like 6 gigs with the guy playing lead guitar.
Did you play Wouldn't It Be Nice?
Yeah.
That's my favorite Beach
I
Boys
played
song.
all this stuff.
Wouldn't It Be Nice.
And we did 409. And we were at Lincoln Center. And I still couldn't believe I'm playing with my hero, my idol. I'm looking over and I'm like going, beep, beep. Like this must be a dream. And we did She's Real Fine, my 409. She's real fine, my 409, my 409. They get into the song, and all of a sudden I go. And he was looking, he's playing the piano, and he's like going. Yeah, he was delighted. He's delighted. He didn't know he had this like nut on the other side of the stage making noises, but it was appropriate because that's on the record.
Yeah.
And I wanted it to sound like the record.
Do you want to take some questions? Some audience questions?
Yeah.
Do you guys have questions for Billy? Yeah?
Yeah.
Where do we have our mic set up for questions? Is
You may have to
it's that
join
one
them.
And that one? All right, let's go with just that one. Okay? Anybody with questions, get online. I've got a crap load more questions, so if you don't have them, I'm going to keep firing them off.
People have questions. You just give them a second. And they'll figure
Slowly
it
but
out.
surely, you get up, you walk towards the microphone, you make a line. It's really
Well, first of all, I'd like all the women. I would.
There you go. All right, we have a question.
What would be your advice for anyone who wants to start taking up voice acting?
Oh boy, there's nothing but outlets now. There's nothing but information on how to become a voiceover. There's nothing but teachers. And when I was starting out, there was nobody. There were no signposts or, Mel Blanc wasn't going to break down in his car in front of my house. Can I use your phone? And now it's just like I had to figure out that you got to go where somebody needs you for what you do. And I figured out that every morning radio show needed like a wacky voice guy for the crazy morning show. And I went over there and I talked to the program director and I said, hey man, maybe if I could, come in and do some stuff. And I just didn't care. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea. And what school can you go to learn how to go in and make a program director like you? So I can do voices.
Just because, I saw it all fleshed out in front of me. Full disclosure, I'm a voiceover actor as well, but
Great.
I'm a commercial voiceover actor. I have this voice at Pizza Hut.
Me too.
Want more taste? Get America's favorite pizza.
Me
Pizza
too.
Hut.
I did,
And now,
I still do M&Ms.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The M&Ms. I
red
wanted to ask
M&Ms.
you about the new Vegas show, but we'll see. We have a lot of questions. So,
I know a lot about Vegas.
But you really did. You know,
what happens in Vegas doesn't stay in Vegas.
When I read his whole thing as far as voiceover, you know, doing what he did, he really just started from the ground up, you know, and at the radio station, and he's the good voice on this wacky show, and it was a show that nobody knew, and then Stern heard him and said, oh, let's bring him on here, and he just kept bouncing around until he was doing everything that he wanted to do. And then once he was settled, he's doing Bugs Bunny and Woody Woodpecker and Popeye and freaking Shaggy.
Yeah, but Futurama was the best. I mean, what are the odds against having bunches of characters that have these memorable lines? The writers are so incredible.
Oh, yeah, man, you're blessed.
You know, it's like, she's a beautiful ship, all right. I'm gonna fly her brains out.
Next question.
Hello, it's a pleasure to meet you. You're one of my heroes.
Thank you.
In all things animated. So thank you for what you do and for inspiring me. And I lost my question.
Basically,
okay.
she loves you.
I'm a big fan.
I love you more.
Oh, thanks. So my question is.
I have loved you. No, sorry.
Is that you in the
Your eyes are going,
last
buddy.
night? Creepy. Okay. I want to know what some of your challenges have been in creating voices for characters.
Well, it wasn't like so much creating them because I inherently, instinctively knew what to do when they showed me a picture. You could almost imagine what it must sound like, but you couldn't just do imitations. You had to kind of invent something. For Fry, it was real easy because I remember what I sounded like when I was 25, and I was whiny, complaining, nasally, you know, and it was like, you know, ah, damn it, I broke a string. You know, it's like the amp blew up. Now what am I gonna do? You know, always like needy and stuff. I wanted attention, I guess, but that was the voice I had. And I said, you know what I'm gonna do for once in my life? I'm just gonna do what I sounded like when I was 25. And people really can't replace you because it's real easy to figure out a cartoonish character. You know, eventually every mimic in town will eventually be able to do what you did, but not your real voice, only younger. It's just impossible. There's nothing to grab a hold of. My voice is kind of plain vanilla anyway, you know, just like, yeah. But I mean, him
You're doing all right with that vanilla voice.
well, you know, I was a freak. I could go all over the place. And I don't want to know. I don't analyze. I've never had my throat analyzed like some people would do. I don't want to know because I'd rather have magical thinking about it. You know what I mean? It's like, because if I knew what was going on, all of a sudden there's a set of rules and do's and don'ts that I'm not supposed to be able to do, and I don't want to hear that, you know? Go ahead.
Oh, wow. If I'd known 10 years ago I'd be talking to Billy West, then that would have been it.
That's all he really
known.
needs.
Wow, this is so cool. All right, a bit of an obscure question, but you worked on some small-time game called Atomic Bomberman, right? Do you recognize that one? Atomic Bomberman? Does it ring a bell?
I can't tell you.
You did a lot of swearing.
I mean,
in
I know
but-
it probably meant a whole lot to you, and I'm not trying.
No.
I'm not
So sorry
trying
to crush your dreams.
No, I'm not
No,
trying
no.
to do that or anything. But like, you could ask me 25 different things or 50, and I could actually say, I don't remember.
No, that one was only weird because that's the only time I've ever heard you swear explicitly.
Who swear?
You did.
I did.
Oh, never mind. Fine then.
I know all the words.
Who's on first?
All right. A better question would be, you tried out for Invader Zim.
Yes,
You only voiced the pilot, though.
that's right.
Whatever happened to that?
Well, I mean, everybody wanted me to audition for it, and I did the pilot episode, and I did what I thought the kid wanted. But, you know, the kid was like, you know, yeah, but Billy West is overexposed, and I'm like, what is he talking? He's right. He's right, I am overexposed. So my friend Richie Horowitz did the voice, and he's like, if you don't know who he is, he's a killer. He's an absolute killer performer and a voice person from another world, you know, and I'm just proud to call him friend with admiration. I mean, I just love all these guys.
Do a better job.
Next up.
First of all, I wanted to say, thank you for all your amazing work. Second of all, I am also an aspiring voice actor, and so what I wanted to ask was, what is one piece of advice that you wish you knew towards the beginning of your career that you didn't?
You said Rob Paulson? Who did you say was your teacher?
I never said I had a teacher.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for looking so formal while I dodder around and just try to figure out where you're coming from. No, a piece of advice? It's just like, you don't choose something like that. It chooses you. I had no idea at 30 what I was going to do with my life. I was a drunk, I was a druggie, I was a mess, and there were bets that I would die before I was 30. And I was like dead man walking, and then I straightened out, and I came out of there, and I began to do like the best work I had ever done, because now you can think like a human being and be clear, and then go off into the stratosphere. The piece of advice was just let your guts yank you around. You know what I mean? It's like it just comes one day and goes, you're going with me. And it's like, where are we going? Just shut up, It's really about yourself, like what your mind is telling you to do and what your guts are telling you to do. And you just sort of find your way because of that stuff. And you got to be fearless. That's another thing. I mean, even when you're recording in a session and stuff, you have to do the justice to the writers. You've got to honor their work. But then at the end, when you gave them everything they want, they go, you have any ideas? And it's like, oh yeah, And I will throw things in, and sometimes it'll hit the floor, and others will actually be in the episode. So the advice would be just, there is no better time to go for being a voice actor, because that's something nobody wanted to do, even like 10 years ago. No one cared. And then all of a sudden it's this big thing, and I'm happier than anything because we're saving a seat for you.
Hopefully I can sit in it someday. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Oh, I'm shaking because you're like my favorite person on Futurama. You've done like all my favorite characters like Zoidberg and like Professor, I'm blanking, but after...
Shut up and take my money.
But after the series finale of Futurama, what other things are you thinking of going into?
The end of Futurama?
Yeah, since you know it's over.
I'm going to start wearing black so I can mourn the death of my career. No, the thing is I talked to Matt, and I was very emotional. We went to Comic-Con in San Diego, and we have to sit there and tell 5,000 people goodbye. And I wasn't being a wise ass or pithy, witty remarks or anything. I just was like sad. And I was trying to thank people. I wanted that message to come across loud and clear, that I had everyone to thank for supporting that show. And that we always tried our best, no matter what. And I never had a bad day at work throughout the 12 years that we were doing stuff. But I said to Matt, listen, man, thank you so much for the opportunity to do this and to be part of this. I thank you. Like, you don't know. I said, it's my favorite show, and it's like, I have to compartmentalize. I always pretended that's not me doing it, so I could appreciate the entire thing. And he was just flagging, waving me, it's like, don't give up yet. And I was like, And he said, we're talking to everybody. We're talking to everybody, and he said, I will tell you that we are going to do more, and we're going to work together. Now, that is very open-ended, very cryptic, because he might have created a whole new show that he wants all of us to be on, but he said, we'll do more, and we're going to work together. So I'm going, well, he probably has another show hidden. I hope. Now
the internet just exploded.
Now I can go
Billy
back.
West says, new show, Matt Groening coming.
No, I love the guy, and I was so just, my head was spinning when he wanted me to do stuff. Oh, and Phil Hartman. Phil Hartman was supposed to do Zapp Brannigan, and he was murdered by his wife, and I remember that very same night, I couldn't sleep, and my wife couldn't sleep, and she was saying, how can you stand to be in this town, you know, full of vipers and liars and sneaks and backstabbers? And I said, don't say that, because there are good people. Like who? I said, Phil Hartman. He's the most generous, giving person. He called me up when I lived in New York just to say he loved my work, and he knew who I was, and I was like, you know, my wife called me, and I was heading home from the city, and she said, guess who just called here looking for you? And I said, who? She said, Phil Hartman. And I went, you know, I said, look, you know how many friends I have that are very capable of pulling an elaborate joke like that? You know, Maurice LaMarche or anybody. And she said, no, that was him, and he wants you to call him. And I was like, what? And I called him, and he just said, I just wanted to tell you that I know who you are, and I really love your work. And I said, well, I kind of know who you are, too. And this was before I moved to Los Angeles, and he said, you know, listen, please get in contact with me when you move out here. I can help get you acclimated. This is where you really should be. I mean, how generous of a thing is that to say? He was so secure. So then I said to my wife, I said, Phil Hartman was one of the nicest guys I met, and he lives in this town. Well, unfortunately, he didn't after that evening. The very same evening, he was shot. And I woke up, and everybody started hearing about it, and everybody was just like bawling, crying. Like, how could this have happened? So then later on, they came and said, you know, we did want Phil Hartman to do. And by the way, Philip J. Fry was named after Phil Hartman. Yeah, Phil. And they said, you know, we'd love you to try to do the Zapp Brannigan character. And I said, can I tell you that when he and I talked, we're old enough. I'm 61, and he was probably up there too. And we talked about our love of these big, old-fashioned, dumb announcers. You know, these radio guys that be like, you know, carried their balls in a wheelbarrow and, you know, loved the sound of their own voice far and away above anything else in the world. And they wouldn't give birth to it. They'd say, well, it's 20 minutes on the downside of 8 o'clock. Yeah. You know, mulling it over, but they wouldn't let their words go. No, they're too precious. I'm going to take them back. Yeah. And I hated it. I loved it, but I hated it. And so we made fun of all that stuff. And he sure did on The Simpsons, but Zapp suddenly was a composite of big dumb disc jockeys that I used to work with, like, you know, they'd be saying, coming to the Worcester Centrum, you know, at 7:30, they love syllables. And trying to sound way more important than they are and swing them with every pitch. So I thought that would be great, and so I hung on to that deliberation after he says something like, you know, where Zapp would say, you know, Kiff, alert the men, I've made it with a woman. So that's where all that junk comes from.
Next question.
So the way I've looked at it, at the beginning of Futurama, there was always it seemed like Futurama versus Family Guy. When they both got canceled and Family Guy came back, I was super pissed. I signed all the online petitions to get Futurama back, and I did everything that I could, which isn't much. But my question is, I just want to know, how excited was the cast to come back for the 4 movies, and then even later for the continuing series?
Oh, it was wonderful, you know? I mean, I didn't wait around for the phone to ring. I mean, I was doing plenty of stuff, believe me. And I still am. It's just that was my favorite show. That was like I held everybody in such high esteem, all the voice actors, Phil Lamar, Dave Herman, who's Scruffy the janitor. And Phil Lamar plays everything from Hermes to one of the Harlem Globetrotters. You know, and the Preacher Bot. You know, it's like we all double up. We all double up on a lot of things, and I did Nixon for the whole thing. And I have to tell you a quick story about Nixon. Is that bastard he drafted me in 1970. I was going right into the Army, brother. And they had my name stenciled on a footlocker. I was number 30 in the draft lottery. And all my friends who had screwed up knees and things wrong with them were in the high 300s, you know, so they weren't going anyway. Figures, you know. So So I was getting ready to go, but I do remember, I got out because I had everything wrong with me, actually, that I didn't even know. I had hypertension, I had flat feet. You know, I just was disqualified. And I went through all this trouble to make it look like I had a heart murmur, and I went through all that, just swallowing gallons of salt water to give me, like, super high blood pressure.
So wait, so they're telling you, they're like, so you got flat feet, wait, but what about the heart murmur? There was a heart murmur, right?
Yeah, in my feet.
Yeah.
And, you know, so anyway, I watched the debate in 1960 between John F. Kennedy and Richard M. Nixon. And Kennedy this was the first television debate, you know, where you could actually see what they looked like. And Kennedy, you know, black and white, and he had that ultra bright smile, and he had that buttered toast hair, you know, he looked like a game show host. He was handsome. And Nixon just was a mess, you know, he was sweating, sweating, and I'm watching him, and his 5 o'clock shadow started coming in at 2:15. He was literally transforming before our eyes, and I said, "Mom, he's gonna turn into a werewolf." Because I loved horror movies, and I used to watch Lon Chaney sitting there with the hair growing suddenly fast out of his face. And so I just said, it wouldn't surprise me if he just went, "The reason I want to be president is because..." And so I started doing that when they said, "We need you to do Nixon." And nobody said anything about the "Aru." But all they wanted to know was like, why do you say that, "Aru"? And they said, "Don't change it." They said the writers love it. They're going out of their minds trying to figure out, what on earth are you doing? But that's the way to give a character a hook, you know? I mean, Nixon never said that. You know, but he was just...
Are you sure Nixon didn't say, "Aru"? You know, no "Aru"?
I don't know. All I know is that I almost went to Vietnam. You know, and there was no reason we should have been there, and it was a mess, you know? But gee whiz, you know, it's like now I get to make fun of him. And guess what? The Nixon clips on Futurama, all the Nixon stuff I did, plays on a loop at the Nixon library. It ain't 1970 anymore, is it, Dickie?
They weren't aware that you were making fun of him.
No, I'm sure they were, but it's like they wanted anything Nixon.
Yeah, okay.
And I sure gave it to them. It's good to be king.
Hello, Mr. West. Quick question here.
Yes.
Have you ever done a character that's gone to print and production? It's like, you know what? I think a different voice would have been better. And could you do that answer in a Bender voice?
Which one?
You're gonna have to speak up, dude. I didn't really hear that either.
Was there a character that you've done and then later went into production and it's like, then after you listen to the character, you think maybe a different voice would have been better? And could you do the reply in a Bender voice?
You know, Johnny's gonna be here in about an hour, and I don't know if he'd want to hear that. But yeah, I mean, everything's a work in progress to me. Voices, you listen to the first or second episode of The Simpsons, you listen to Homer, and then you watch the 250th episode, and it's like night and day. Because we always drift throughout, and sometimes it'll be higher, or maybe a little lower, or maybe it's more articulate, or maybe it's more this or that, more stupid. You know, like you know, one day I thought I was reading a typo in the script because the guy goes, "Hey, Fry, I heard beer makes you stupid." "No, it doesn't." And I looked at David and I went, "No, it doesn't." Isn't that like a typo? And he's so patient with me, and he's going, "No, please read it as written." Okay, but I'll be back for the session fee when you realize what you fools have done. So then I see it on television, and I went, "Ah!" Now I get it. And that's why it sounded so deliciously stupid and authentic, because I didn't know what I was saying. Yes, sir.
I'm curious if you have a white whale voice, like something you were never quite able to nail down, and maybe you dust it off every now and then, and you just can't get it right. And it
Like
bugs
Abraham Lincoln or something.
Yeah, just one impression. You just
Well, like
can't-
Francis Tone, or Jack Benny, or
Yeah, or just. What's
no.
one that
Whenever
bothers
anybody
you?
assigned me for anything, believe me, I would pull it together to do whatever they wanted. You know what I mean? I'm a utility infielder, and it's like I had to do Popeye for Fox, and it was this quest for Pappy. It was a CGI Popeye. A lot of people didn't like it, but there were a lot of people who thought it was great. And Jack Mercer was the voice of Popeye. And when we were little, me and all my friends could do Popeye, but it sucked. We all sucked. And I saw this movie years ago called Genghis Blues, and it was about Tuvan throat singers that could produce more than one sound at once. And they had this growl that would turn into a whistle, you know. And I'm watching these guys, and it's like country western music. It's a horse beat culture because they're cowboys, basically. And they be bum, bucka, bum, dung, and then they go, "How you rear." And I was, wow. How do they do that? And so I started to figure it out, and then I realized Popeye was a Tuvan or something. Because it was a high voice and a low voice at the same time.
Yoo-hoo, olive oil. I bring you some flowers.
And there was a low voice, yoo-hoo, olive oil, I bring you some flowers. And you put the two of them together.
Yoo-hoo, olive oil. I bring you some flowers. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
That is serious dedication.
Oh yeah, but it's also just the obsessions of a nut that just couldn't deal with real life.
But no, I hope everybody hears everything that he's been saying up here, because all he keeps saying is that never settle, keep working, keep trying, keep pushing forward. That's everything.
Yeah,
you want to be great at
than you
anything, you
thought.
got to do that.
No, but it's worse than you thought.
Oh, it is worse.
Like when I was in
It's
when I was
harder
in
than
high
you
school, I was really, really shy about girls, and I don't know why, because I was a gentleman, you know, and I was romantic, and all these thugs would come in and just elbow you out of the way to get the most desirable girls. It's like, it still happens, you know, like strippers' boyfriends are always big, dumb club owners. You know, and they were the guys in school that knocked you out of the lunch line and put their thumbprint in the end piece of cake that was left for you, and everything else is gone. You know, nothing ever changes. But I would spend my time trying to imitate the radiator in the hallway. You know, and while these other guys they owned cars, you know, and they were going out with girls, and I'm like, it's overflowing, it's boiling. Ah! You know, that's okay, I made up for everything on the back end. Yeah.
Okay, so when I just recently watched the end of Futurama I felt like I was watching a brother or sister die in front of my eyes. So I wanted to ask, what would you say was your favorite thing ever to do on Futurama? If it's episode, movie, anything, just what was
There's a
your
couple of things. One is the Devil's Hands. I love that. Because it was an opera. You know, and we got to sing, and you know, Fry is like the worst singer in the world. You know, I'm walking on sunshine. You know, we all heard it. Walking on sunshine. Oh, what? Don't it feel good? And so he wants to sing, but he didn't know like how to get to Leela, other than being just around her and trying to be sincere and it coming out all wrong and stuff. But I love that episode. And I also love the Holophoner episode where he played the most beautiful music in the world dedicated to Leela, and the planets were spelling out their names. And
Is that the Shut Up and Love Me one? Which episode?
no, that was another one, I think.
I remember you did that. I remember that one from one of the, but I don't remember what episode it was.
Yeah, I recorded and sang Shut Up and Love Me. And it was in Kiff episode when he was courting Amy, Shmamy. And, but yeah, the other episode was, gosh, the finale got to me, but Jurassic Park. You know, how can a cartoon evoke so many tears, and I'm kind of, not jaded, but I'm cynical about so many things in this world. Like, I know television ain't real. I know the movies ain't real. You got to really hit hard to suspend my disbelief. You can see every joke coming up Fifth Avenue on most shows. But this one, I knew it was going to be sad, but I didn't know how sad it was going to be. And I was like, I said, this is crazy. I'm starting to, and I have to pretend I had nothing to do with the show just so I can enjoy it as a whole. Because I would focus in on what I did, and I'd say, oh, that sucked. Why did you do that? You missed this great opportunity. I'd be tearing myself apart listening.
Nothing you did on that show sucked.
What's that?
Nothing you did on that show
thank you.
sucked.
Thank you.
You can stop thinking about that now.
Okay, I will.
give you permission.
I will. Yes.
Wait, how about the whole room gives him permission to stop thinking that whenever he's watching Futurama? See? You don't have to think like that. Next question.
Thank you.
Hi, Billy. Whoa,
Hi.
that was loud. Sorry. Just want to make sure you could hear me.
No, that's good. I can hear you.
All right. I was wondering if you wouldn't mind refreshing us all on Brannigan's Law. If you could give us a little refresher on Brannigan's Law.
Well, what was it? Brannigan's Law?
Like Brannigan's Law.
It's like, what, hard and fast or something? Brannigan's Law is a lot like Brannigan's love. Hard and fast. The way to a girl's heart is through her parents. Sleep with them and you're in. I remember a couple things.
Well, like a lot of other folks here, I'm a big fan. I've been a fan for a long time, and I'm generally a fan of voice acting for animation. So I always feel a little frustrated when I see the big animated films from Disney and DreamWorks, and they hire people who aren't professional voice actors to voice the characters. And I was just wondering what you felt about that.
That's a good question. I was going to ask that question.
Do you really want to bring that mountain down on yourself? Yeah. No, I mean, I've always said, and I'm not afraid, that's the beauty of being like 61 years old, is like, you don't have to explain shit to anybody anymore. And I waited my whole life so I could call another guy son. Look, son. These are only the upsides of older age, advancing age. But I mean, it just seemed so wrong to me because my heroes weren't friggin' celebrities. I'm sorry, they just weren't. My heroes were artists, like Da Vinci and Picasso and musicians, Aaron Copland, all the composers, Mel Blanc. This is the way it was supposed to be because it's all about alchemy. You really achieve nothing until you walk into a room and they show you a lead bar on the table and they say, we'd love it if you could turn this to gold. And then you leave, and it's gold. No problem. Then when the celebs come in, they walk by the table. Where's my money? Okay, I'm a tree, right? Or I'm a cab. What am I? A girl or a guy? I'll just do my own voice. And they have the luxury of doing exactly who and what they are for a character that was created to even look like them. We don't have that luxury. We have to build everything from the ground up from day one, but we want to keep turning stuff into gold. And then the alchemy makes it magic. There's no magic if you just show up and everything you do sounds like you. And they get $20 million, for an episode, and they're like, I did it for my kids. Oh, so let me figure this out. You came home one day and your kid threw you up against the wall and started pounding on your face, going, why aren't you doing cartoons, Dad? Yeah, it's like a Schwarzenegger came home one day and goes, guess what, kids? Because he was lunkhead, When you're famous like that, your kids just think you're a big boof. And guess what, kids? That is a cartoon now. And that makes them cool.
If I was Arnold's kids and he told me that he was a cartoon now, I'd say, like, what were you before?
Oh. Yeah, I know. It's like, when weren't you?
At what point was the transition?
Yeah, we must have order. Thank you.
So, many of your voices are a regular part of my daily life. And,
I'm sorry?
Many of your voices are a regular part of my daily life.
Really?
Yes, sir. Watch Futurama every single night, and I fall asleep to it.
Oh my God. You're thoroughly corrupted. Don't tell me you did that with like Doug and Ren and Stimpy and all that.
I did, actually. But when I was
Wait a minute, is this sound familiar?
Oh, Doug. I love Doug.
Yeah.
I didn't even mention Doug.
But when I was
My name is Doug Funnie, painfully average 11-and-a-half-year-old, and this is my dog Pork Chop.
But,
oh no. Hey loser, give me that microphone. Hello world. Hi, it's me, Roger Klotz. And if you don't like it, vote for this.
but
Okay, so I just take you back a little.
It's all right. I got to be honest with you. When I fell in love with Doug, I had no idea who you were. But since then, I've fallen in love with you for the work that you do.
Yeah?
And yes, sir.
He fallen in love with you for your doo-doo.
Your doo-doo, sir. So,
That's okay, I'll take it.
Anyways, many of your phrases that you say have become things that have pulled me out of a slump. I'll be at work having a terrible day, and I'll just randomly blurt out, "The spoon's in the foot powder," and I can start to have a good day.
Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, but it's me giving back in a way. I know you'll find it corny for me to say this, but at 50 years old, I was diagnosed with chronic low-level depression. It turns out I had it from the day I was born, depressed. And I thought that's the way the world was. Like, everybody was tougher than me and they could deal with their problems and just, act normal. And I was like, I gotta learn to do this, And no wonder I had the odds stacked against me to ever be happy. I can tell you like 2 days in 1966 when I was actually happy.
Dude, most people don't know. I had anxiety.
Did
Grew up
you?
my whole life
And you-
anxiety.
and
I
you
found
didn't
out
know
when I
what
was
it
like
was.
25, and I was like, what? I don't have to feel like this all the time?
Oh, yeah. So
amazing.
But I mean, I had anxiety, free-floating anxiety. I had mood that was suppressed. And I used to listen to the darkest music, because feeling shitty felt better than flatlining and feeling nothing. Just feeling dark and, oh, yeah, boy.
They say you can bad patterns are sometimes just as rewarding for your body chemically as good patterns.
They are.
Yeah.
But when you're desperate, you'll do anything. Like I was taking kava and valerian. I was a health nut, and I still am.
You're a vegan, right?
Yeah.
When did you become a vegan? Yeah. My family's trying to switch, so
really?
give me advice.
Well,
we just decided 2 weeks ago.
I've been a vegan for about 17 or close to 18 years. It was the smartest thing I ever did in my life, because if you look at pictures of me from when I was 30, I looked about 100. Yeah, and it's like, it's not for everybody.
When you said you were 61, I was like, really?
Yeah.
You're 61? You don't look 61.
Well, you see me in the morning,
Vegan. All right, we only have like 2 minutes, so I think we can only. Did you even ask a question?
Yes, but the depression thing I wanted to just clear up really quickly is all my life I had to live like this. I'd be crushed to the floor in the shower before I went to work. Everything would be fine, and then all of a sudden I'd be in the shower, and this black cloud just shows up out of nowhere and crushes you to the floor, and you're like in the fetal position, just saying, I can't go out. I can't go out there. And you're watching the raindrops, on the glass, and then finally you pull it together to go. And as soon as I entered the work arena, where the proscenium is, I didn't have to think about that stuff. I could always be like a great assembly of characters that I could just lose myself in, and I would actually be relieved. So performing was like a life-saving thing. But I was treated at 50 for these things, and all of a sudden it was like light coming out from driving through a dark tunnel, forever. And I would wake up and I actually felt happy about being alive, and believe me, this was foreign to me. So I always worked under those weird constraints, and I had to sprout wings and fly, just to get through it.
So my actual question for you was as extensive as a career of you as you have had, is there a golden moment that stands out to you? You can be having a bad day and you just think back to this one voice or this one episode that you did that just brings a smile to your face every time you think about it.
Oh, when it was the UFO Roswell, and his what is it? His great grandfather or something was Enos, and he was like Gomer Pyle from the old TV show, Hey, Fra.
Sure, I'm lucky that you,
You know, and he's
knocked
like-
me onto this pile of rusty bayonets.
No, but the thing that I loved was he goes, hey, Fry, do you ever get the feeling you was going out with girls because you're supposed to? And I went, what? You know, because it meant I was going to be vanquished in 2 seconds.
I'm so sorry. I can't take any more questions. I
Yeah,
have to
but
wrap up for Billy.
but-
Billy, I mean, we have another panel. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure
yeah,
we
yeah.
have to cut, right?
But come by my booth. I'll chat with everybody.
You know what? You were so close. We'll take one.
Yeah, one more.
One more.
Okay,
I'm sorry,
guys.
everybody behind her.
Sorry.
I'm so sorry to ask this because it's kind of going into dark territory. You talked a little bit about dealing with depression,
Yes.
but I was listening to your Chris Hardwick's podcast, and you mentioned something when you were a kid about your dad and knowing what kind of mood he was by the sound in the driveway.
Yeah.
And that resonated with me, maybe because I had a tougher childhood, but you've brought happiness to so many people, and I'm such a big fan, and I'm so glad that you're doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
I don't even know if I have a question. I just wanted to say that.
No, really, thank you so much.
That's a good place to end, I think.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I will come by to say hi if that's okay.
And Billy, is there somewhere I can direct them to follow your
Yeah, I have
exploits?
a booth, and I'm signing pictures and taking pictures and all that stuff. And Johnny had the huge crowd this morning.
Oh, yeah?
I guess
Well,
my crowd came up here.
Yeah, your crowd came
Is that
over
what
here.
it was?
Yeah.
I felt like I'm done.
They were here early.
I'm done. My career truly is over. There's no one here.
No. They were here early. And are you on like Twitter or like?
I'm on Facebook.
Look for Billy on Facebook. Billy West, pretty easy. Billy West, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you so much.